up, everyone? My name is Christl with Endless Events, and we're here for another Whiteboard Wednesday. Today, we're going to be talking about why you need a virtual event strategy. So I've had a little bit of experience with this. I am the temporary strategy manager for Endless Events. So I've been getting on phone calls with people, having them explain their event needs to me. And what we noticed a lot was a lot of people were completely skipping the strategy step when it comes to planning. So what we talked about in another Whiteboard Wednesday a while ago was the 3 elements of an event. So basically you need strategy, design, and execution every single time. But a lot of people, especially planners, they get too excited and they just jump right into the design portion of it, which is great, and it's really exciting, especially with virtual events. We saw the timelines were shorter, these events were happening really quickly, and people were like, I need to start designing now. But what we really wanted to start telling people was that take a step back, slow down a little bit, and just focus on that event strategy first. So today we're going to go through why. It's not really jumping into what an event strategy is necessarily, but it's the strategy behind why you need an event strategy. So let's get started. So the first part is finding your why. If you're a Simon Sinek fan, you probably know where this is going, but before you jump into anything, you need to figure out why you're doing it first. What's the purpose? Why are you doing this virtual event? Rather than just recouping the cost of your in-person event that you weren't able to recover, we need to find out why this event is important for your attendees and why you are going on this journey of learning a whole new thing that you're not necessarily familiar with. So that's what your strategy does. It is kind of your guiding North Star is what we like to think of it as. So whenever you come up with a challenge or you're not sure of what direction to go in, you can just use this strategy as your North Star. It'll always be your decision maker. It'll always help you find out the answers to these really important questions that you have. And it also ends up giving you more time for creativity. A lot of people think that, oh, this strategy portion is going to take so much longer and I don't have time for that and I just need to start planning now. But actually, if you just take that time that I was talking about and just take a few steps back, you'll be able to actually have more time in the long run to focus on that design and execution and that creativity that you're so excited to get to. So let's also go into the benefits. A lot of people that I was getting on these phone calls with, they weren't necessarily understanding that strategy has so many benefits that you probably don't really think of. First one being, it prepares you for meetings with stakeholders and with so many other people. So us being an event production company, people can jump on the phones with us and they just start talking about their event needs. And we see a lot of the times that people aren't necessarily thinking about their strategy. And so different team members have different ideas and they're not necessarily all on the same page. So when you have this strategy first, it really prepares you for these meetings. When an event production team asks you, hey, are you thinking about this or that? The strategy is there to answer that question for you. Or maybe if you're meeting with sponsors and they ask you kind of the same thing, why are we doing this event? What's the purpose? That strategy is really there to help support you and back that up. It also lets you get one step ahead of everything. Rather than trying to catch up and focus on design and execution later on, you're actually one step ahead and you're able to take that time, like I keep saying, to really focus on why you're doing this event. It also helps you never settle for less. If you have a dream in your head, this strategy really helps you put pen to paper and get that planned. A lot of people, when they jump into design, they're like, oh, I want to pick a platform or I want to focus on doing this. That's great, but we sometimes put ourselves in a corner when we do that, and this allows us to never settle for less. We can expand on our ideas and then design based off of our dreams and our goals rather than the other way around. It also helps with getting rid of confusion. A lot of times these events are so crazy and there's so many different parts to it and so many moving aspects that it just gets confusing. But again, this strategy kind of sets everything straight and allows you to focus on those bits and pieces step by step. And then lastly, it aligns your team. So like I said in those meetings, a lot of the time we'll hear one thing from one person and another thing from another person, and we kind of ask them, did you guys even talk about what you want to do during this event? And a lot of the times they didn't. So this strategy allows your team to really sit down, get everything on paper, be aligned, and have the same shared vision the whole time. So let's go over to this side now of who to include in these meetings. When you're planning these strategy meetings, sometimes it's like, okay, we just need the CEO, or maybe it's just the operations side of things. You kind of need everyone. I know it's going to sound chaotic, but the more people that have hands on this event, the better. It's really important too to see all the aspects come together and see from a marketing perspective, what's their goals and what do they want to come from this event? From an operations standpoint, what do they need to know in terms of how to implement this event after they find out the strategy portion? So the more people that you can get in these meetings when you're talking about the event strategy, the better. It's the same principles of diversity. The more different people that you have sitting at the table, the better ideas, the more collaboration, and you kind of get rid of that group think. And so it's not just the C-suite people making all these decisions. You have everyone from the top to the bottom helping make this decision. You also really want to include key stakeholders. Now, those people can either be directly in these meetings with you, or you can just keep them in your mind. You want to make sure that you're not just planning for your organization, you're planning for your attendees, you're planning for the people in the community, you're planning for your sponsors, and obviously you're planning for your organization and yourself. So those are all really important people to keep in mind, and if you could bring one person from each of those categories into that meeting as well, that would just lead to more diversity and better ideas coming from this, and then you'll be able to actually see these people's wants and needs firsthand. So if you invite someone from the community to be a part of this strategy session, so you can hear right from the beginning what the community needs from this, what your attendees need from this, and it'll just make the entire thing flow a lot more smooth. And like we say, the more the merrier. Bring everyone. Obviously, you don't want to get too crazy and have too many people on these meetings because it could get a little bit distracting. But break it up into different meetings with different people and just really find out from the beginning what you want. And then the last part that we want to talk about is how this can affect your timeline. So like I said, a lot of people want to jump right on in to the design and the execution part because it's exciting and it's the part that seems like it's going to take a lot of work. But actually strategy takes a lot of work as well. It's really time consuming. You need to really come with your game face on these days where you're talking about strategy. So it's going to really affect your timeline. You're going to have to budget for that, allocate that time that you need, and not just skip over this really important step. We always say the earlier the better. A lot of people try to go into the design aspect and then they're like, oh, but I actually really want to get this for my event. And like I said, they're kind of back in that corner. So the earlier that you can start thinking about this, the better, and way before your event even happens. So we really try to push people to think about next year's event. Really ideate about the different things that you want. Make sure that you are giving that time that you need so you're not 2 weeks before the event trying to think of a strategy, trying to design and execute everything, and just throw it up. That's what we're seeing a lot of times with virtual events. The timelines, people think that they can get everything up and running in a really quick amount of time, and that's just not true. You have to dedicate that time to it and make sure that you're starting as early as possible. And the last part is it affects your timeline also in a positive way. So a lot of people are scared. Oh my gosh, I have to spend all this time on strategy as well as everything else. Yes, but you also now have a clear path for your event. So your strategy can be kind of where you implement that timeline and plan that timeline moving forward. So if you don't know where exactly to start or when exactly to contact certain sponsors or caterers, maybe some of that is discussed in your strategy and you just have a more clear path going forward. So that's everything we have about your virtual event strategy. I really hope this is helpful for you and it really shows you the benefits of starting with strategy rather than jumping right on in. So I'm curious, have you really thought about your event strategy for your next event? Or has there been a time where you've used event strategy and you've actually really seen the benefits? I want to see both sides. Have you left it off and really struggled? Or have you implemented strategy and just really seen the above and beyond aspect that it can add to your event? So leave that in the comments below. And if you really like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel because we're here every Wednesday. And we hope to see you more on Whiteboard Wednesdays.